You're listening to Three Kitchens Podcast, hosted by home cooks Erin Walker and Heather Dyer.
Are you tired of cooking the same old things? So are we. Let's all get inspired, cook better, and eat great food. It looks pretty.
Oh, good.
It's so tasty. The jam is delicious.
Well, hello and welcome to today's episode of Three Kitchens Podcast. My name is Erin Walker, and I am joined by my co-host, Heather Dyer. Hello, Heather.
Hello.
How are you this lovely day?
I'm good. I'm good. And you?
I'm well. I'm very excited to talk about pies today. As you know, we've got sweet teeth collectively, and we have a special guest to join us. Her name is Laura Klynstra, and she is an award-winning author as well as art director, freelance graphic designer, and photographer. And we've invited Laura today to talk about her new cookbook, the Homemade Pie Cookbook, 100 pie, tart, and galette recipes for every season. Her book is to help home bakers create memorable, Instagram-worthy pies that will become the talk of every holiday table. Isn't that what we all want?
Of course.
Hi, Laura. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So fantastic having you here. I think the fact that you call them Instagram-worthy pies is exactly what we're looking for. I don't know how often I spend sitting looking at people creating these amazing looking pies, but are they delicious too? I don't know. That's why we need the full package, right?
Good point.
Yeah, I think it's probably more important that they're delicious than that they're Instagram worthy. And also I like to think that we don't have to make our pies perfect for them to go on Instagram, but there's lots of things we can do to make them pretty. And I never aspire to be perfect when I'm making a pie, because when you're baking them, the crusts will morph and things will change. And so don't get hung up on being perfect, but yeah, you can still make them really pretty.
Okay, good.
Excellent.
That's a relief, because nothing I make ever turns out perfect, even if I'm trying, which
it seems like pies are even worse for some reason. The pie dough is just like when you put it in the oven,
yeah,
it shrinks, it does things. Yeah.
Yeah,
it
for
changes too much for it to keep its original look, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And again, back to it's more important that it tastes good. The type of crust recipes that change when you're baking them are also the ones that taste the best. So, if you want them to stay the same, you'd have to add too much flour, and then it wouldn't taste good.
Right.
You want that nice ratio of butter to flour, and yeah.
I feel like we've jumped. We have like quite a few questions on our list about crust. So maybe let's get right into crust, because I feel like it's the base of the pie or tart, and it's a very important element, right? But
yes.
Just before, since we've also said pie and tart, can you tell us the difference between pie, tart, and galette in kind of basic terms? Goes my dog.
Sure. I have those too. So a typical pie would have a normal pie dough, which is just butter, salt, flour, and water. Sometimes you can add some other things to it, like a little bit of buttermilk, or I also have a version of it that has maple syrup in it. Since you're from Canada, you probably would really love that.
Always, yeah.
You'll have to check that recipe out. That's one of my favorite recipes for a sweet pie, but I'm getting ahead of myself too. So that would be your base for a normal pie. But then the crust that I have for a tart is really based on a shortbread cookie recipe that I use. So a lot of people will make a tart crust and they'll roll it out and put it in the tart pan. And mine is really not great for rolling out, because it is more like a cookie. It's more like a shortbread cookie. So mine is a press in. So it's actually really easy. You make the dough and then you just press it into the tart pan. And people do say that when they have one of my tarts, it's like, oh, this is like a cookie. So it's a totally different crust between the tart and the pie. And then a galette would be the same dough as a pie. It's a flat pie that you would put on a baking sheet, and then it's just very rustic, very thin amount of filling in it, and you just wrap up the edges of the dough and to keep the filling inside and bake it. Every once in a while you get a leaky galette, and then sometimes I'll make a galette in a skillet. So that will kind of help hold the filling in case you get, if you have any breaks at all in your dough, it's going to leak out, and then that'll burn on the pan. And so if you ever make a galette and you're like, oh man, I wish it wouldn't have leaked, you can just try doing the exact same thing I usually line the skillet with a piece of parchment and then just make my galette right in the skillet, and then you can pull it right out after it's kind of hardened a little bit after baking.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah, what a great suggestion.
I like galette because in particular that is not perfect.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's that's one of the whole points of it, is it's more of a rustic. And it's not as thick of a filling either. It's, you don't have the space for it. So it's a little different result.
So you mentioned butter as your fat in making your pie crust. Is there a reason you prefer, because we also see like a lard or shortening sometimes be used in pie crust. What's your preference for butter?
I've always liked, I've tried the other ones. I don't really like a vegan crust. I do have a recipe for one. I've just never had as much success with, and I know a lot of people use shortening. I've never used lard. My mother used to use lard sometimes, and I think that's a more old-fashioned fat to use in a pie dough. But butter is just kind of like my go-to for baking for everything. So it's definitely my favorite choice for making a pie. And plus, I've made so many at this point that it just works for me. Like those, I just kind of have that one down. So I do go for the butter.
Yeah, don't mess with it if you've got one that works for you.
Yeah.
Right. I recently made tortilla, which is a Canadian meat pie, and I used lard for the pastry. First time I'd ever made a pastry like that, and we loved it. It was
I'm
great.
sure it tastes good.
Maybe for a savory pie, it's different too. I don't know if that made the difference, but we really enjoyed it, and I was a bit nervous about it because I'd never used lard for a pie crust, but it worked great. I don't know.
What's your favorite method for making a pie crust? Is it by hand, or sometimes we see the food processor?
So I use my KitchenAid, and now there's a special attachment for the KitchenAid called a pastry attachment. It does not come with the KitchenAid stand mixer. It's a totally different attachment, and it's designed to cut instead of blend or cream. The way that when you're making a cookie, you want that paddle attachment. It creams the butter and the sugar together. This is a pastry attachment that cuts it. It's going to give you the same ease of using a food processor, but the big difference is that a food processor over processes your butter almost every time. It's almost impossible to kind of get it evenly done without turning it into these tiny little specks. Whereas the pastry attachment, you have lots of time to kind of watch your butter and see how big the pieces are getting, and it's not going to over process it unless you leave it on for 10 minutes or something. It gives you plenty of time. It's so fast and easy. I also would do it by hand, but generally speaking, because I'm making a lot at a time, I would go for that pastry attachment on my KitchenAid.
Oh, I've never even seen one. So now I might go on the Christmas list this year. Not that I make a lot of pies, but I'm feeling a bit inspired. You're inspiring me here, Laura.
They're really good for scones too.
Yeah.
Right, because you want to kind of and biscuits because I don't want to cut that butter too. You don't want to blend those. So
yeah, I have been known to use the hand thing.
I hate those.
It's hard to use.
Thank you.
Really
I hate them too. I think they're the worst.
Everything gets stuck inside,
Yes.
and then you're going like this with your. I hate them. I never use those.
Well, no wonder I don't have success.
Yeah, and I tend to grate my butter on a box grater.
I've seen that before too.
Cold and frozen, and that seems to work okay. What kind of size are we looking for our butter pieces? Because you said when it's in the food processor, it gets too small and overworked.
You kind of want them to be about the size of a pea.
Okay.
When you're rolling out your dough, you're not going to want to see like a nice even surface. You're going to want to see little flecks of butter going in there. And another thing is when you want everything to be cold, and especially before you hit the oven, you want your dough to be cold, because those little bits of butter, they steam when they hit the heat, and that's what gives you the flakiness in your final crust. So if you over mix in your butter, you're going to have a less flaky crust. But you don't want them to be so big that they're like a pat of butter. That's too big.
Yeah.
So,
I like how we've gone into this right away, because I feel like these are the hallmarks of making like pastries and especially pies that I get hitched up on every time. And I make pies frequently, not anywhere near, I'm sure, the frequency you've got, but almost every time I go to do it, it's like, am I doing this right? Because it doesn't have that homogeneity that you like that's so easy to get when you make a cookie dough. Like blend it till everything looks like one. Excellent. I can do that. But like this
light and fluffy.
Yeah, like it's so easy to do those.
It's a totally different thing. Totally different thing.
Yeah. Yeah, this one always trips me up. I dump it on the counter and I'm like, oh boy, is this gonna go the right way?
And then it's also how much water do I add? Because the water is always different. So you can't put an exact measurement of water because different flours absorb water differently. So you have to learn to get an eye for when that dough is at the right level. Basically, you just want it to be moist enough that you can push it together into a ball. You get it too much water and you're going to end up with a mess too. So that part is another tricky part that, you almost just have to learn it. You have to try and don't be afraid to fail and do it again.
Right.
Until you get an eye for it.
Right.
Yeah.
If you know you're going to make pies in the next 6 months, I would make a quadruple batch of the dough. And then I divide it. I use a scale to divide it.
If you're baking, you got to have a scale.
Yeah. So you may as well weigh your dough, and then you divide it into four parts, and each part is good for one pie, a single crust pie. And then wrap each one, form discs, wrap each one in plastic wrap, and then say you're going to use one, put that one in the refrigerator, put the other 3 in a Ziploc bag and throw them in the freezer. And those will be good for 6 months. Because it's kind of a messy job to make pie dough, you may as well make enough for however many pies you might be making in the next 6 months. Then when you're ready to use it, just try to, if you can remember, to take the dough from the freezer to the refrigerator, like maybe the day before. That's helpful.
Right.
I'm always making a quadruple batch. That's how much will fit in my KitchenAid. I would probably make more than that if I had a larger mixer.
Okay. That's good to know, right? So all of us with our KitchenAids, we can, because sometimes you don't know what's going to happen if you got too much stuff in that bowl.
Yeah, you got to be a little careful. Don't turn it on too high, but it'll fit.
Yeah, like that hasn't happened to all of us at some point.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, sometimes when you bring things out of the freezer, I've made pizza dough, for example, and I put it in the freezer, I freeze half of it, and then I bring it out later, and when I thaw it out, it's kind of like too moist or something, and I feel like I need to add flour to it.
That's one of the reasons that you want to thaw it out in the refrigerator. I think you might get some condensation forming if you just set it on your counter when it was frozen. And if it did, like it's good, then it might be a little bit more. But if it did get a little bit of condensation, you just put a little dust. You're going to put a dusting of flour on that thing anyway when you're rolling it out. So
right,
it'll be good. It works. If you have your own homemade already in your freezer, you have no excuse to have to buy one of those packaged ones.
Right. I've never thought of making it ahead.
Like when you think of those ones that you buy in the freezer section, they're like already pressed in a little tin. Like it doesn't look like there's butter lumps. Like that does seem very uniform.
And quite often, if you read the ingredients, there isn't butter. There's like hydrogenated oils and all kinds of horrible things in those pie crusts.
You wouldn't want to buy that. Okay. No. Well, and clearly you don't need to.
It's not that hard.
With just a little bit of practice. Yeah, you can do it. Is there anything we need to think about in terms of pie crust and gluten sensitivity, or is there a gluten-free alternative?
I have a gluten-free tart dough. It's just basically the same tart dough as the regular one, except it has oat flour in it. And because the tart doesn't really need to be super strong, so it doesn't matter that the gluten's not there, you kind of want that to break when you're, putting your fork through it. So the one with oat flour is excellent. The regular pie dough I use like the mixture, the gluten-free flour that you can get. I think it's King Arthur has one. Now the problem with that gets to be that the dough is so super weak. So when you're done rolling it out, you got to transfer it into your pie dish. Now it can easily break. So one of the things I've done is put a sheet of plastic wrap over it to try to strengthen that dough while you're transferring it, and then pull it back off again once you get it in there. So just be aware that if you're trying to make a gluten-free crust, it could crack, it could break, because it just doesn't have that protein in it to hold it together. So, but if it does, just push it back together. You're fine. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Okay. So if you were using it for a galette, and you think about those issues that you mentioned earlier with it kind of spreading, put it in the pan.
Yep, I would definitely do that one in the skillet, because it will break.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Okay. Or can you just turn any pie into a tart, since the tart dough is more resilient?
It's a different volume of filling.
Okay.
You probably could just, I don't know, I've never made like an apple tart, but you could probably just reduce the amount of filling.
Okay.
And put it in there, and it would work as a tart.
I have made a pear tart in the past, and it is just it's kind of like a layer of sliced fruit on top. You're not like mixing a big bowl of filling and putting it on your tart. Yeah.
So you probably could turn anything into a tart. You're just going to have extra filling. You might need to cut the filling in half.
Right. Or make 2 tarts.
Yeah.
I mean,
the more the merrier.
That's why I actually like the lemon meringue tart so much better than a lemon meringue pie, because I just find the lemon meringue pie to be just too much. Like that thick layer of it's too much. So that's actually the one that's on the cover, the lemon meringue tart, and that's one of my favorites, because it does. I love the ratio of the cookie like crust to the lemon curd, and then the sweet meringue on the top, the Swiss meringue. So.
I always find with a lemon meringue pie, it's one of my favorite pies, and I like a thick lemon meringue pie because I love it.
Oh, you do?
But sometimes the meringue is like, here's your pie filling, and here's your, like, the meringue is ridiculous.
Sometimes the meringue is way too much. It's like
too much
this
meringue.
Mountain. It's not a cloud anymore. It's a mountain.
Well, and that's kind of a goal sometimes for a baker, to see how big they can make that meringue. That's a French meringue, so it's a little different than the one that's on the tart. The tart's a Swiss meringue, and I don't know if you've had both of those before. The French one is the one you probably had, because you've had the lemon meringue pie.
Okay.
The Swiss meringue, you actually cook the egg whites and the sugar ahead of time until it reaches a certain temperature. I think it's 170. And then you whip them. So, and the consistency is just totally different. It's more like a melted marshmallow.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, this sounds like making marshmallows. That's a similar process.
Yeah, it doesn't have the gelatin in like an actual marshmallow does, but it has that it's a totally different consistency. And you don't have to put it in the oven then, because it's already safe to eat, because you've reached the and this is when you get your kitchen torch out. This is the fun,
Ooh,
where you do it, and then you just torch it for that toastiness.
Ooh, I like that.
Kitchen torch is now going on the Christmas list. The pie attachment.
With the pastry attachment.
And that torch. Oh my gosh.
I have one. I have the torch. You can always borrow it, Erin, if you have plans, right? From smoking cocktails. I've got the little...
Right.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, I should just get my own, let's be honest, but that's okay. Yeah. All right, so going back now, since we've really jumped into this pie thing, where did your pie journey begin? How did you start, and when did you start baking pies, and how did that become your focus?
Well, I really became my focus for the book. But my first thing that I liked to bake when I was a kid was cookies. So it was definitely not pies. So that was something that I learned later in life. I started bringing them to work, and people just would love it. I used to work in New York City, and it's kind of a rare thing to bring in baked goods in New York City, because everybody has to commute. Everybody has to go on the subway and walk through the city and all this stuff. So it's like people don't want to carry that stuff. But I bring pies in and people love them. So it was just, I think pies have been kind of this thing of sharing, like the thing that you bring to a gathering, and there was just something special about them. So yeah, I wanted to learn more about like the different, what kind of other flavors could I, so then you start pursuing things. And I tried to just create ideas based on cookies sometimes, like the raspberry Linzer tart is based on a Christmas cookie that I like to make. There's a fluffer nutter brownie pie in here. Their peanut butter cup pie. So I just like take other desserts and see if I can figure out a way to turn them into a pie. So that's been part of my journey, and it's been a lot of fun to do that.
That is fun. And you always think of like sharing, you think of something like cupcakes or
yeah, those are individual.
cookies.
Yeah, like bars
It's
and
easy
cookies. Yeah.
to hand out. Yeah, bars, cupcakes, cookies, easy to hand out. But when you bring out a pie, it's like, wow.
Yeah, people think it's special. Yeah, it is. It's like, yeah, it's a little bit messier. For sure.
And you can bake a batch of cookies and keep them and eat them over time. Like, but when you make a whole pie, you wanna share it. You wanna bring it somewhere and present it.
Yeah, and I think everybody knows that when you bring a pie, that you took time. You know, you took care, and it's just a little bit more love when you bring in a pie, I think.
Yeah. So how many people do you typically serve with one pie? I'm curious how many pieces you cut it into usually.
Nobody ever takes an eighth of a pie. You can probably get 10 to 12 pieces out of a pie. It depends. I frequently, if it's a gathering, I'll bring more than one. And then some people are like, I want a little piece of that one, and I want a little piece of that one. So I don't normally, I usually overproduce my pies so that there's choices and and there's plenty for everybody. But you definitely get more than 8 pieces out of a pie, because there's always somebody there that's like, oh, I don't want too much.
Yeah. I was thinking someone should tell my husband that, because he would eat like a quarter of the pie. Just like, I'll take the biggest piece. I'm like, that's like 3 pieces.
Yeah. So what kind of tips would you have for somebody that's trying to make their pies prettier? How do we start tackling that problem, and what kind of things do we need to understand about crusts when we go into it?
Well, one thing that's really easy to do is to go online and buy the little pie crust cut. Like they have little cutters, they're like cookie cutters, but they're made for pie dough. They're smaller, and if you look through the book, there's like a ton of. I use those a lot. And then if you have scrap dough, you can roll it out and then make these little. They have snowflake shapes, maple leaf shapes, and different. And so that's an easy way to kind of just decorate the top of the pie, even if it doesn't come out looking perfect. You can either add them when they're dough on top of the pie before you bake it, or you can bake them separately and just kind of set them on there where you want them to go at the end. Oh, okay. No one will know that it was baked on there or not. And that gives you some freedom to be like, oh, this crust turned out a little wonky here. Let me put this maple leaf over it. It's just,
good idea. Yeah.
But then there's also a lot of, say, apple pie with a crumb crust on it, just like drizzling caramel over it is a way to make it just look, add some more texture to it and give it that yummy, like, ooh, look at that. So there's a whole chapter in the back of the book about toppings and garnishes. There's like sugared cranberries for some of the Christmas. I like to use rosemary with that because it gives a look of almost like a pine. You don't eat the rosemary; it's just for a garnish. So you can use fruits. You can pipe your whipped cream on instead of. And again, the cream cheese whipped cream is better for piping because it's a little bit more stable. You can, if you just get one of those really large star tips in a disposable pastry bag, you don't need anything super fancy. You can pipe on your whipped cream, and that gives everything, that elevates everything. Once you've got that whipped down, you can drizzle it with chocolate or drizzle it with caramel, and that gives it even more. You can stick cookies in it. Just kind of imagine like these bakeries that you see, they have all of these extra toppings. It makes it look more delicious, but it can hide, mistakes that you made while you're baking your pie. It just, everything kind of comes together when you do that. So if you think of your pie, there's really 3 parts. There's the crust, there's the filling, and then there's the topping. And if you just totally forget about the topping, you won't have quite as pretty of a pie. And it probably won't be as delicious either.
Right. So if you're putting, say you're piping whipped cream on, do you do that just before you serve it?
I would do it in the kitchen and then serve it so that people,
And then bring it out and everyone goes, ooh, look at that.
Yeah, and they don't know how easy it was. It's so easy. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, it just, you can make it in advance if you're having a party and keep it, like you don't want to do it a day before because, but you could do it a couple hours before and put it in the refrigerator and then pipe it on just before you serve it.
Because that's the hardest part is if you decorate these things sometimes and then if it's going to sit like in a fridge or something beforehand, it's like, oh, how do I cover this so it doesn't dry out, but doesn't ruin my topping?
But if you had it all prepped in advance and in the fridge, then and then pipe it on after, because when you're trying to travel with the pie too, it's like you don't really want whipped cream all over it because it's pretty easy to mess up.
Yeah, that's not going to show up the way that it left your kitchen if it's going in a car or So once you've made the pie, if you're going to store a pie, what's your maximum time that you're going to keep it on the counter or put it in the fridge? Or
it really depends on the pie.
It really
okay.
Yeah, a fruit pie is not something I would want to keep for a really long time. But like for instance, a peanut butter pie lasts for a good week. Like
you don't want to get too ahead on your baking then if you're going to do a fruit pie.
But some people don't care about a soggy crust.
I think everybody would care. They just won't tell you.
They're just not being honest.
But you can bake it ahead and freeze it and then bring it out at Christmas, couldn't you?
If I was doing like an apple pie or something, I would freeze it without baking it.
Oh, okay.
And then let it thaw. The same thing I would do with the dough, but let it thaw out overnight in the refrigerator, or maybe even 24 hours because the pie is thicker, and then bake it. Because the other thing is that it's just way better right out of the oven.
Yeah.
But if you did bake it, what I would recommend doing is under baking it a little bit, freezing it, and then freshening it in the oven so that it is still like nice from the oven pie.
This feels like expert level. Like, how do I know if it's underbaked just enough? I'd be really nervous about that.
Yeah, I think they just like don't bake it is probably the way to go.
Okay, good. I can do that. Hey listener, we're just blown away by the kindness and generosity of our guests on the podcast. They lend us their time and share their knowledge with all of us so we can learn to be better cooks and bakers at home.
If you enjoy our guest episodes, please see their links below in the show notes. Go follow and support them too. And if you have an idea for a guest, please send us a message. We'd love to hear it. Now, let's get back to this episode. Do you want to tell us what recipe that you sent to us to bake and why you chose it?
We sent the raspberry Linzer tart, which is based on raspberry Linzer cookies that I like to make at Christmas, and the raspberry Linzer cookies are based on a Linzer tort from Germany. So it's like kind of like all these things inspire each other, but this is a little bit different because the crust is not one of the standard crusts. The crust is based on the cookies that have you ever seen the Linzer cookies? Yes. They're like a sandwich cookie, and then they quite often have a little window cut in the top, and then it reveals the jam inside. So the crust for this is based on the Linzer cookie dough, and then it's got a homemade jam in it, and it's really pretty when it all comes together. You dust it with some powdered sugar or confectioner sugar. And I also, in the case of the picture that's in the book, I use those little pie cutouts that I was talking about earlier that are shaped like little snowflakes. And so it makes a really pretty thing to bring to a party. And it's also super delicious. The crust is a little bit crisp. Unless it sits there for a while, then it actually softens, but not in a bad way. It's actually pretty good. Okay. So like right after you've baked it, that crust is a little, and the same with the cookies. If you make the cookies and you want them to be crisp, you would add the jam just before serving them. But if you leave the jam in there for maybe 12 hours or so, the cookie gets a little bit soft, but it's not soggy. It just softens it. So it's good either way. And then it has a homemade jam, but you could probably use a store-bought raspberry jam if you wanted to. But I thought since we're talking about Christmas or a holiday season, this is a good one for to bring to a holiday party.
It's really beautiful and festive. And I mean, I imagine the tradition is raspberry, but you probably could use whatever sort of preserves that you like, I would think.
You could. Certainly could.
Yeah, so I made it and shared with Erin, and I actually made 4-inch round little individual sized tarts.
Those are very cute.
And one question I had for you about it is, so the crust is made by toasting and grinding up the almonds,
making it a little bit fragile.
Would it work the same if you used almond flour that you buy
I think it would.
Ground?
I think the flavor would be a little different because the toasting the almonds gives it a little bit of a different flavor, but I think it would work perfectly fine to just use almond flour.
I wasn't sure, but I did it to the recipe, but I did think like, oh, I could probably save myself some time with the almond flour. And then I didn't do I know you talk in your book about the lattice, like doing, I did do a couple, I think, with the lattice, but I find it a little bit fussy. So I had done what you're talking about, and I cut out like shapes, like a star or a heart, and I put it on top. What is the difference with the pastry cutters versus the cookie cutter?
They're quite often smaller. They'll usually have an impression thing too. So like a cookie cutter quite often doesn't have like one of those little impressions. You know, like it'll leave like an actual design on the top.
Oh, okay, like a stamp.
And quite often like more like a stamp. And quite often cookies don't have those because you're going to probably add icing or something to them. Sometimes they do. But you don't want, like, I've also bought some that were made for cookies and they're just larger and they're kind of too big to decorate the top of it. But you could use a cookie cutter. I mean, Oh, the pie ones, the ones that you can buy online, they have a little plunger in it. So after you've cut it, you press it down, and then once you pull it out, if it's stuck in there, you just press that plunger again and it pops out.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. There must be another way to get it kind of out.
Yeah, you want to get the right kind of get the right tool for the job.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I didn't know it existed, but now I do. So, you know, again, Christmas list.
I think they're called pie cutters or pie cutouts or something like that. They are designed for pie.
Okay. We really enjoyed this tart. It looks pretty.
Oh, good.
It's so tasty. The jam is delicious. I used frozen raspberries because the fresh raspberries at this time of year were astronomical price. So I did buy a small container to use as like a garnish, but it was like, forget it. We're using frozen. And I actually had frozen raspberries that were from the garden. So one thing I would say, if you're going to make this, from my experience, make a jam like this with a frozen raspberry, is let them drain, like thaw and drain for a while first, so that you don't have quite so much liquid. It was because they tend to be more juicy.
Yeah. Mushy.
Yeah. But otherwise it worked great and they were delicious.
And these were totally like the Linzer cookies, because I know my one son loves making those at Christmas. That's one of his cookies that he likes to make. So so very good.
Just a different way to bring, you know, if you have to bring a pie to something, you can bring this instead of, and it's still like kind of like a cookie, but it's also a pie.
Yeah. And I did really love the crust. It is just the perfect. We didn't let them sit long enough to get softer. It was quite crunchy when we ate these. But I loved it.
I like it like that, but yeah, I actually like it both ways.
I'm sure it's good both ways. Yeah.
It's not something that'll stick around, that's for sure.
Okay, just to wrap this up, we have a fun question. You don't have to answer if you don't want to, but we're going to kind of put you on the spot.
Okay.
If your personality were a pie, what pie would you be?
Okay. Did you guys think about this answer for yourself too, or just for
not
me?
Really? No. It's just for you.
Just for me, if my personality was a pie. Well, I might have to go back to that lemon pie on the cover, because the reason I picked that one is because I think it's a really happy pie. Just looking at it makes me happy, and I love yellow. So let's just say I'll just pretend that I'm a bright, cheery, always optimistic, happy person.
Oh, I love that.
I did say pretend. I'm not always that, but I like to be that.
And it looks kind of fancy, but maybe it's hasn't put in as much effort as it looks like you did. Is
No,
it that kind of like?
yeah, it's much easier. Yeah, much easier than it looks.
Yeah, there you go. I love that. We'll do it. Erin and I will do that for maybe for a social post to promote the episode. We'll see what kind of pies we are.
I think you should. Maybe, and maybe everybody should comment what they are.
Yes, that's a great
Right?
idea. Yeah. Laura, would you please remind our listeners where they can get the book and where to follow along with you on the social medias?
You can buy the book directly from my publisher, Baker Bookhouse. They have an online store, or you can get it at any other retail store that sells books. And my social handle is at Spice and Sugar Table on Instagram, and I also have one at Laura Klein on Instagram as well.
Awesome. And we will link to the book and to your social media accounts on our show notes. So listener, just scroll down and link through and go buy that book, maybe as a last minute Christmas gift, perhaps, and get baking some pies.
There's recipes for every season, and it's divided by season. So if you're starting for Christmas, you can just start right in the winter chapter.
Oh, nice. I love seasonally organized cookbooks. It makes me excited for what's going to come out next.
Thank you so much for joining us. This has been a lot of fun, and wow, our Christmas lists have grown, and we're inspired now to go and bake, and it's been really great. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me and for all of your fun conversation.
And now for the fine print. For links to recipes and many other random things we talked about in this episode, check out the show notes or our website, www.threekitchenspodcast.com. Join us on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, YouTube, and TikTok to see what we're cooking up next. And if you love the show, tell a friend. Word of mouth is the #1 way people learn about new podcasts. Thanks for listening.
That is like the bottom of my list of how to make a pie crust right there.